Hello fellow pageant nerds, welcome back to the channel. So, last night at the Mall of Asia Arena, Bea Millan-Windorski of La Union was crowned Miss Universe Philippines 2026. She'll be representing the Philippines at the 75th Miss Universe in Puerto Rico this November. And the discourse, as you might expect, has been, well, split. Now, I want to be very clear about what this video is and what it isn't. I'm not here to second guess Saturday night. I'm not going to break down the gown walks. I'm not going to score the swimsuit round. And I'm not going to tell you which of the top 7 I thought peaked hardest in the final moments. Other commentators will do that, and they'll do that well. That's not the conversation I want to have here. The conversation I want to have is about what Miss Universe Philippines is actually selecting for. Because I think a lot of the noise around this result comes down to people answering different questions and not realizing it. Here's the framing. The title is Miss Universe Philippines. Emphasis, in my view, on Miss Universe. The winner does carry out a year of national duties, and those matter. But let's be honest with ourselves about the primary criterion. Miss Universe Philippines' job, the reason the organization exists, is to ship the strongest possible Filipina to the international stage and to try and bring home a 5th crown. Everything else is downstream of that. And once you accept that framing, the question stops being, did Bea have the best night? And becomes, is Bea the best bet for Puerto Rico? Those are very different questions, and you can answer the second one yes, without having to take a position on the first one. So let's actually look at the case. Bea went into Saturday night as Missology's #1 final hot pick, among many others. She's been a front runner in the local commentary space for weeks. She's a graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Madison with degrees in history and international relations, with a research focus on US-ASEAN relations. She's done a fellowship with the Philippine Embassy and an internship at the East-West Center in Washington. She's been a top 4 finalist at a Big 4 pageant before, Miss Earth 2024, where she also took the Miss Earth Water supplemental title, essentially the second runner-up. And yes, she was representing the USA in the process. But she met all the eligibility requirements for Philippine representation at Miss Universe, and she relocated to the Philippines following her Miss Earth stint. Under pressure on Saturday night, with the same question put to all 7 finalists, she delivered an answer that clearly threaded the needle between patriotism, honesty about the country's frustrations, and personal stake.
The Philippines is something and a place that I've been in love with my whole life. Growing up in a predominantly non-diverse part of the United States, I was identified as Filipina first and foremost. I often had to point where the Philippines was on a map to my peers, and I always felt a sense of belonging and home. I chose to pack my life into balikbayan boxes and suitcases because I believe in the limitless potential of the Filipino people and the fact that we need to create local opportunities here so that people don't have to go abroad and be separated from their families in order to survive and thrive. If I were given the title of Miss Universe Philippines, I promise to be a public servant for all.
Thank you so much.
That's not a thin resume. That's a contender who has been preparing for an international stage for a very long time. Full disclosure, I actually interviewed Bea back in March 2025, when she was the reigning Miss Earth Water, for a project I was working on with the Queen Beauty Network. That interview was never published, and it's not my place to release it now. But I will say this, I remember walking away from that conversation thinking, this woman has Miss Universe potential written all over her. That was over a year ago, long before she was ever linked to Miss Universe Philippines 2026. So when I say the resume is real, I'm not saying that from the cheap seats. Now, the on the night question. I said I wasn't going to score the final, and I'm not. But I'm not going to pretend the discourse doesn't exist either. A number of fans and commentators felt that April Smith and Bella Ismael outperformed Bea in the top 7 Q&A round. That's a fair conversation to have, and I'm not here to dismiss it. What I would say is this. The Q&A round and even the earlier swim and evening gown rounds are just a few data points in a much longer competition cycle. Bea's communication skills were on full display throughout the entire process, including the closed-door interviews. If you're evaluating a queen's speaking ability on one answer to one question on one night, you're working with a very narrow sample. Now, the elephant in the room. Bea was born and raised in Wisconsin. Her grandparents emigrated from La Union to the United States. She represented the USA in Miss Earth 2024 before relocating to the Philippines. And there's a school of thought in Filipino pageant circles that says we've been here before, and it didn't work out. That school of thought is pointing to Celeste Cortesi. Celeste, as a quick refresher, is a Filipino-Italian raised in Italy. She came up through the Miss Philippines Earth Italy pathway in 2018, the route for the Filipino diaspora community in Italy to compete at Miss Earth Philippines. She won Miss Earth Philippines 2018, and represented the Philippines at Miss Earth that year. Then in 2022, she won Miss Universe Philippines and unplaced at Miss Universe in New Orleans. And for a country with the placement record the Philippines has, an unplacement stings. So I understand the hesitation, I really do. There's been some quiet skepticism in the local commentary space about whether a Filipino-American raised abroad is the right bet given that recent history. I'll let others have that conversation, but I want to push back on the underlying logic, because I don't think one data point is a pattern. Look at where the Philippines' 4 Miss Universe title holders were actually born. Gloria and Margie, Manila. Pia, Stuttgart. Catriona, Cairns. The diaspora connection isn't new, and it's never been disqualifying. Celeste's 2022 unplacement is real, and I'm not dismissing it. But I'd argue it had at least as much to do with the specific dynamics of that year's competition as it did with her backstory. Reading Celeste's result as imported queens don't work is, I think, the wrong lesson. And I want to be clear about something. I am not saying that the Philippines needs to import a queen to win Miss Universe. The Philippines has one of the deepest talent pools in the world of pageantry. What I am saying is where a queen grew up should not be the deciding factor. And in Bea's case, it shouldn't overshadow everything else she brings to the table. So that's the case for Bea on the terms that actually matter. Now let me make the broader argument. We have, over the past couple of cycles, accumulated a decent body of evidence about what travels to Miss Universe and what doesn't. One of the clearer lessons is that on-the-night performance, even at the international final itself, isn't necessarily the deciding factor. Selection committees who treat the national final as a pure performance contest, rather than as the final step in identifying their best international asset, are working with an incomplete picture. Miss World has taken this to its logical conclusion. There's no competitive element on finals night at all. The entire result is determined by performance across the full pageant period. I'm not saying Miss Universe should go that far, but the direction of travel across the industry is clear. The night is becoming less important, not more. Miss Universe Philippines, on this read, did not make that error. So here's where I land. I think the honest framing of this result is this. Miss Universe Philippines made the Puerto Rico decision, not the Saturday night decision. And whether or not you agree with the relative weighting of those two things, I'd argue the Puerto Rico decision is the one they're actually employed to make. Bea Millan-Windorski has, on paper, one of the strongest resumes a Filipina has carried into Miss Universe in years. She's been a Big Four finalist before. She's articulate, prepared, and battle-tested. She met the criteria. She chose to come home. And the Philippines is overdue. We'll see what happens in November. Until then, let's give the new queen a fair start. I'm the Pageant Nerd. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.